We're here with Dan Miller of 48days.com. Dan's got a new book out, No More Mondays, but Dan is the one guy who really encouraged me to leave Nissan and start my own car business. And I always admire him for being really the one person who just told me to flat out just leave the company. And that really surprised me. But No More Mondays is his new book. Dan, will you tell us about this book and what's inspired you to write this?
What inspired me is guys like you, Mike. I actually have you profiled in here, as you know,
Yeah,
talking about what you did.
that.
But it's talking about all these changing work models, how to take advantage of changes that are taking place, because we can't depend on things to stay the same. People that thought they had security and predictability are finding out it's not there.
Yeah.
So if you aren't going to get security from a traditional company anymore or from the government, what can you do? Well, how do you take an idea like you did and turn it into a business? How do you become a consultant? How do you do contingency work? How do you become an independent contractor? So it's encouraging to help people see, even though we hear the news about people cutting back and people laying off and Ford is going to let a lot of people go, it's not the end of the world. It's just, okay, what's next? Every time our country has gone through a change like that, it's not been, now we're finished. It's what's next. When we introduced robots into manufacturing, it put a lot of people out of work. Did they go sit on the sidewalk? No, they found the next thing. And I'm just talking about what's next.
Yeah. Well, I know you're one of those outside the box thinkers and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and some of your childhood?
Yeah, I grew up on a dairy farm. We were poor as church mice.
Yeah.
I remember when we bought the first cow. The first one cow we bought, and that was what we depended on, My dad grew that little farming operation, kept putting money back in, so we had a
that was in Pennsylvania?
That was in Ohio.
In
Ohio. My dad was bivocational. He was pastor of the little tiny Mennonite church. Didn't get any money from that, so we had to depend on farming. But growing in there, I think I had too much time out on the tractor and in the field, too much time to think and dream and imagine. And I started dreaming about things that would give me more opportunity than what I saw there in farming. Got a hold of a little 33 RPM record. It was Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret. And this old guy talked about how you could change where you are and who you are by change what goes in your mind. And I thought, is there a chance for me as a poor little Mennonite farm kid in Ohio to change my life? And I started reading and listening to things that opened my belief level, opened my opportunities. And I kept going to school to get more opportunities. But along the way, I've always enjoyed the things that I've done. But I've done a whole lot of different things. I mean, it wasn't until I was about 45 years old that I had so many people coming to me wanting me to help them through career and job and business transitions that I started really formalizing all of this in books and CDs and DVDs. Of course, now I have the privilege of doing that full time. But it came out of real life experiences and a lot of things. I had a health and fitness center. I sold cars, loved being in the car business. Did a lot of things. Had motorhome rentals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you done that.
Yeah, sure did. But I love business, but I love more than anything seeing people take what God has uniquely gifted them in. And whether that's art or music or playing golf or raising dandelions or selling cars. I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's not that one idea is a good one. It's what fits you.
Exactly.
So when the person figures out what fits them.
Well, what kind of advice do you have for somebody who maybe is in college right now or high school, or maybe it's the guy that's working at Nissan that's, we're hearing that Nissan may lay off, a Whirlpool that's been in, which I worked for 5 years at. What do you tell that 55-year-old man or woman that's been there and that's all they know? How do they find that innate ability? What are some advice would you give that person to try to find that?
What I tell this kind of people is don't get the cart before the horse. By that I mean don't look at who's hiring, where we see the job trends, what's the hottest franchise. Look at yourself first. 85% of the process, look at yourself. What are your skills and abilities? What are your personality tendencies? What are those recurring dreams? Where do you find yourself in the zone? We talk about athletes being in the zone. What is it that when you're doing it, time just flies by? When you look at those three major characteristics in yourself, you start to see a pattern emerge. Then the 15% is, okay, how do I pull all those together and then find meaningful fulfilling, purposeful, and profitable work. And I think anybody can do that.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing a lot of, the country changing. There's a lot of uneasiness that I see, and this is what February the 6th, 2008. So there's a lot of uneasiness out there with the economy and so forth. And a lot of people aren't gifted academically. I mean, I know you've got your background in psychology, business, and you have a master's in psychology.
My graduate degrees are in psychology.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that person that's trying to tap that, is there other ways that they can maybe open their mind up, put themselves in different maybe perspectives, that you can maybe advise them?
A lot of the best opportunities today aren't very closely tied to academic background or IQ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we don't see those correlations at all. We see people that just discovered what it is they really enjoy doing and acted on that. Now, and really, the guys that come and do our yard work around here do a beautiful job, and I love what they do. But, I've never asked them, where did you get your college degree? What is your IQ? What's your...
Exactly.
That's not important.
Yeah.
The results get you the opportunities.
Yeah.
If you do something with excellence, you're going to have opportunities, and nothing can stop that.
Yeah.
Talking about the economic trends and all, we just got the reports here in February for January, first month of a new year. There was a 17,000 net job loss in the United States. The first time that's happened in over 4 years. Yeah. Front page of every paper, it really shows we're in an economic stall. Things are downturn. Yeah. You know what we did not see in the news that absolutely drives me bananas?
Yeah.
In that same month, in January, where we had a net job loss, the average wage earner increased. The average wage increased. It actually went up about 6 cents an hour, but it increased. Yeah. Unemployment dropped from 5% to 4.9%. Now, how do you explain those things together? We lost all these jobs, unemployment dropped, and earnings rose. Yeah. Well, it's because the government doesn't take account for guys like you and me who are out here. We're under the radar. Yeah. If you don't have a company with 50 people, they don't know how to track it. Exactly. And the explosion of opportunities and growth in the country right now are people who are putting together little companies with 4 people, things with 15 people. Yeah. Not the big General Motors, Nissan, Arsenault. Those are so rare. That's why we hear about them. Yeah. That's not where the new opportunities are exploding. Those are having a hard time, and we all grieve for that. But those are days gone by. Exactly. But the new opportunities, somebody figures out how to provide internet technology service for you, or how to come by and wash the cars on your lot. Exactly. You see all the kind of things that people can just take an idea, put a little plan together, and knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's simply a return to the kind of businesses that our country was founded on.
Yeah.
It's really healthy in that way. This artificial expectation that the company's going to guarantee me so much money and take care of my 401k and retirement and medical benefits, that's a real recent model. And companies have just simply acknowledged it doesn't work. Yeah. We can't do that. It doesn't make business sense. You don't have people come to work for you where you just guarantee, no, show me the results you can produce, and I'll pay you based on the results you produce. Exactly.
Well, do you not sometimes see the younger generation that, not just younger generation, but that there's an entitlement mentality? Oh, where it's like, I'm due health insurance, I'm due a pay raise, I'm due this from the government or an employer. Does that not, because 30 and 40 years ago, you didn't see that, did you?
No. If you came to me 80 years ago and said, Dan, I want you to build me a wagon, you wouldn't guarantee me $15 an hour or assure me I would make $45,000 a year. We just simply agree on a price. If it's $100, how much time it takes is up to me. That's a healthier business model than what leads into that entitlement. There's a chapter in No More Mondays titled, But You Owe Me. And it deals exactly with that. Yeah.
That's just something. It's just something I see. Being in politics, it seems like people are always wanting something, but they're not willing to get out there and get their feet dirty and go to work and make it happen sometimes.
See, as soon as somebody starts pointing fingers, blaming, or saying, you owe me, they put themselves in a very vulnerable position because really nobody does owe you that. Yeah. And when you put yourself in that kind of position to expect it, you're sitting on a bubble. As soon as you really accept responsibility, I'm in the driver's seat. I have to make my own way. I'm responsible for what happened. You open up a world of opportunities, and we're seeing people that are figuring that out.
Yeah.
And in as much as, again, you came out of a manufacturing environment. I work with a lot of people making that transition. I mean, we embrace that for whatever it's worth. But those people who lose jobs and come out of that, the knee-jerk reaction is, that dirty company, they owe me, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But you know what? I hear 18 months later, man, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
You're right.
Because it forced me to take a fresh look, and I discovered all these things that took me to a higher level of success, not lower. Exactly. I hear that over and over and over again.
Yeah. Well, so can you tell us about some of your other products that you got? What was your first book?
I had a version of 48 Days to the Work You Love that we did in a 3-ring binder like this, and it really just came out of teaching a Sunday school class. And I had so many people asking me, well, gee, my Uncle Harry needs that, or do you have anything I can give my son-in-law? Yeah. So I put it together in just a very rough form, and we sold lots of them because there were a lot of people that were wanting to figure out this thing about work. Over the years, that became a hardback like that. It has another workbook. It has the audio series that goes with it. Now the new book, No More Mondays, we're creating a workbook to go along with that. We've got 48 Days to Creative Income. We've got Write to the Bank, and Write is W-R-I-T-E because I've helped coach a lot of people who wanted to be writers, and I show them how to take their writing and turn it into income. Yeah. We've got CDs, DVD series. This has a 12-session DVD.
And what about your podcasting? How does somebody find you online with the podcasting?
Yeah, 48days.com, we have reference to a lot of resources to help people in this, but it points people to my No More Mondays blog, where we have a lot of up-to-date information. I do a weekly podcast that is answering questions that are submitted. We have hundreds of questions. I scan through those. I answer questions on a 48-minute podcast that's on iTunes. You can go there and subscribe or download it, or get it right on our 48days.com site as well.
You kind of got started years ago also with the Career Link radio show on 99.7 here in Nashville.
Yes.
Can you tell us how you got started with that?
I was approached by the station. My good friend Dave Ramsey had a show on there. Yeah. He mentioned that they ought to talk to me. They did, and we went on there and had a show for 4 years, Career Link, talking about these kind of issues. Then the station was wanting to switch to all sports. And I said, hey, that's fine. I need a break anyway. And so I was off, and then went back on again about a year and a half ago and had another 1 year run. But what I discovered, this is just changing technology. I just discovered there were some opportunities to get our message out there with broadcast, blogs, things that didn't tie me down. And I'm pretty spoiled at this point. I like to have the freedom to come and go. Joanne and I travel a lot. And so we moved it from a regular radio program to a podcast and discover that we have listeners in Singapore and Taiwan and New Zealand and Germany and Sweden.
Now, you still doing your personal coaching like you used to?
1 day a week.
Oh, you are?
I still do that, just very limited, just so I still continue to hear the stories and work with people through the transitions.
Exactly.
Primarily, I speak and write at this point.
Yeah. Well, some of the stories and people that you've interviewed and some of the people that you've seen that's went through transitions, whether I think there's a dentist I've heard you talk about that couldn't stand dental work and so forth. What are some of the interesting stories that you've seen that you could share with us?
Dentists we could talk all day about, because...
Is that something you see that a lot of people get in dentistry and then they just don't enjoy it?
Lots and lots of them. It's
just, why is that?
Well, I asked one time, I said, why are you guys so stinking miserable? You know?
Really?
He says, where else do you go into work and you have 32 people come in and say, I hate you? And I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, they may not say that, but nobody likes to come.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, and that particular dentist, we actually did a major transition. He is no longer a dentist. We have him on there's a video clip on our site where he actually shares a little bit of that story.
What's he doing? What's he doing now?
He went back to school and got trained as a marriage counselor. He and his wife are marriage counselors.
Oh, really?
Really neat story.
Oh, wow.
Loves what he's doing. Says that he'll do this till the day he dies.
Yeah. Well, I know you and Dave Ramsey are good friends, and I know that you used to attend Christ Church. I guess with Dave, and I mean I was in Dave's Sunday school class years ago. I guess when they had
were you really?
Years ago. That's when he was first starting to cut up the credit cards. But he was on there with the money Money Game.
Yes.
Was it Roy Matlock?
Yeah.
And Wilson.
Hal Wilson.
Hal Wilson. He was on there some.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed him.
Yeah.
But when you look at Dave's model and Dave's background, is that a good example too of somebody who has kind of found their passion?
Absolutely. Yeah, went through a very painful process. Dave and I both went through total crash and burn business-wise in September of 1988.
Oh,
we didn't know each other then. We met about a year later.
Yeah.
But became friends and kind of mapped out what we wanted to do, and we've both been blessed beyond our wildest dreams in that. We built very different kind of businesses, incidentally.
Exactly. Yeah.
He wanted to have lots of employees, have everything done in-house, which he's done exceptionally well. I wanted to use technology and the ability. We just did 1099s last week. Went through the people that I have used, that I've paid money to in the course of the last year. We have a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
But that's what I have a network. It's like a spider web all over the world of people whose services and abilities I use in our business. But it's created much more of a virtual business where there's no building to drive up to. We don't have employees. There's no signs. There's no retail hours. It's totally different.
Yeah, I always remember. I think you told it was either the class I was taking out at Christ Church when you were doing the Sunday school kind of class. In fact, we met at the Taekwondo class.
Golly, that's right.
And then because I remember we were back there. It was a big room you could change in and so forth. And I remember you introduced yourself to me. You said, "Hey, I'm Dan Miller." I said, "Oh, you're the one on the radio." And you were like, "You listen." You were real surprised, that I listened. But yeah, I'd recognize your voice also, But when you look at say Dave's situation, Dave has got to be a Type A, super aggressive. Almost like on steroids Type A personality, right? But I always remember you making a comment that he had said that he needed this type of employer, and he named all these qualities. And I remember you said, "Well, you're just replacing yourself. Why would they come work for you when they're going to go out and just do what you're doing?"
Yeah.
To try to find that same type person.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a neat thing. Well, one thing that we were just talking before we started videoing was a quote that said, "You can judge a man's character by how he treats those who cannot offer him anything in return." And then that always kind of reminds me of you, because you've got a heart of a servant. I think your Christian integrity, kind of comes out in your product and so forth. But you've been an inspiration for me and countless others. And just want to say thank you. And we'll upload this to our website, and hopefully some other people can benefit and go to 48days.com and hopefully get some inspiration from Dan Miller here. Okay?
Cool.
Hey,
thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Dan.
All right.